Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me for this panel discussion. We have a number of questions that it would be absolutely great to discuss with you and hear your opinions on. Before we begin with the questions, is there anything that really stood out for you on this conference that you feel is most important from your viewpoint?
I think that the Irish example and the example of Florence were actually very good because it showed that small initiatives and small changes can make a lot of impact. And I think that is what is most important, to try to focus on people who are actually doing the stuff, who actually need the support, try to find out what support they need, and that you don't have to think on a very large scale. It is minuscule but well-aimed contributions that can help a lot. I think that is my major takeaway.
Thank you. So I think the Chinese say that the longest journey always starts with the first step, right? So it's something similar, if I understand correctly. Okay, thank you very much. And how about you? What is your major takeaway so far?
I want just to say that I am working in a startup incubator. So when we decided to apply for this project, it was easy to to switch, because that's what we asked to the craftsmen, to change their mindset because of the pandemic and all the other different things that happens, and now we know that they happen and we can't do anything sometimes. So they, to go on and to be competitive, they must be digitalized, they must look forward. That was the message that we give to our startups, that use technology in a good way. Of course, I'm not really young, and so technology, as for many people, is seen something like difficult to understand. But if it's used for human resources, it can be really very good. That's the message we wanted. We just gave to the craftsmen as to the startups.
Thank you very much. And did you see major differences between the craftsmen who joined and compared to the tech startups that perhaps what are those major differences?
The differences are that the startups begins without a product or a service, while the craftsmen begin with their product. They can see it, they can build it, they can they both can imagine it. Someone spoke before about the MVP, that is the minimum viable product for a startupper. That is something not concrete, that you can touch this. I think this is the most important difference. But at the end, the way to get success can be the same.
Okay, thank you very much. And how about you, Ms. Lopez? What's your major takeaway so far?
Oh, well, I think, first of all, thank you for having me today. It's been very, very inspiring. We have seen...
Wonderful to have you here.
Yeah, of the good practices and everything, very inspiring. And I'm going to be talking pretty much about collaboration. Because sometimes we ask for too much to our craftsmen and women. We ask for them to know everything. Of course, to have their own expertise, which is unique and very valuable, but we want them to know about e-marketing, digitalization, and many, many other things that are quite different from being an artisan. So for me, coming from the university, we have a lot of young muscle in research, and we can do that necessary transfer of that knowledge and do a lot of things that I assume that we shouldn't be asking the craftsmen for so much. I mean, is it like they take off their hat of craftsman and then put the social manager and then e-marketing and then, you know, and this, they need to be focused on their production and their unique expertise. So for me, to have an impact and to really impact the sector, I think we should collaborate. I think we should put a lot of very young people that are willing to know different paths, and craftsmanship is full of knowledge that it's in between. Circular economy, we have learned in this last lectures. Also, even artificial intelligence, and I can give a lot of good examples of how we can help each other, and without having to put so much pressure on top of the craft of the craftsman. So for me, it's been a very, very inspiring session just before, and for sure I'm going to be talking about co-working, collaborating with one another.
Great, thank you very much. And Mrs. Ponyi, you are a practicing craft person who is very successful in her field, and we heard about this need to make this switch in mindset. It seems that you have successfully done so. Can you a little bit elaborate on that? When did you realize that it's very important, and a little bit, if you could elaborate on your path from the first steps to now, when you are very good at both with your art and you are successful from a business point of view?
Thank you. Yes, my position here is very different, non-academic or non-governmental, but doing it every single day. Basically, my story is my business started 15 years ago, and that time I had 3 little children, later on 4, and I had no possibilities, no time to go to conferences, go to craft fairs, go to shops and sell my product. So I thought that why not going online? And basically I started it from the zero. I made a blog. One blog post was one picture of a product. There was no title. And there was the price under it, nothing else. I thought I have a website. Later on, I went to university and I did my master's on online marketing because I saw very early, we are talking about 2007, that e-commerce and online platforms will be very important. And now I'm not only doing it, but also teaching it through an online platform. I have online courses where other crafters can learn how I did it and how I do my online marketing.
Okay, thank you very much. Could you please, because you have experience with the craftsperson, what are some good ways to help them change this, make this change in their mindset? What are some good ideas that you can share that worked in your programs so far?
Yes, what we told them, of course, most of them had already a website or an e-commerce. What we tried to put in their minds is that as they are producers, makers, they do something concrete, that's something that has a story from the beginning to the end. So the storytelling that was before said about it is very important, because you have to give the message that you have when you build, when you make your product. So you have to move emotions. In our 100 hours of training, we spent 20 hours for storytelling, for images. We made a collaboration with a school of photography where the students made different shootings, just explaining to the artisans that a photo can make the difference. So everybody now, we have all our smartphone, we do pictures, many pictures, but you have to show the best of you, something that owns to you, that is from you, and you have to give it to the other. Also because after all what we had, we are naming the pandemic a lot of times this morning and today, but it's true, people need emotions, good emotions. So the way how to be effective communicator, effective communicator. A good message that go from A to B in the good way, in the best way.
Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, please.
Yes, I have something to add to Miss Nani. I think all crafters are very, very creative person, or also startups. But sometimes you have to just click that switch and not only use creativity for the product, but also for the business. Because these are very small companies, and in many cases, you can't do things as usual. But there's the creativity to find how to do it somehow else.
Yes, I think it's very important that the creative part and storytelling is a very important aspect, if I understand correctly. But we also heard before that a challenge that craftspeople face is the everyday running of the company, like what Kele János pointed out here in Hungary, that they need to do the accounts and those type of things, and it's very important that they don't just focus on their craft, because that's a necessary part of the business. How can, for example, your university help with that? Where do you see your place in that respect?
In fact, we have already done that. We are in progress of doing more activities regarding that particular topic. First of all, what we did is we joined forces. We have, I come from the University of Granada in southern Spain, and we are lucky to have the one and only national point center of reference for artisanship in Granada. So we joined forces together. So we made this, it's the first one at the University of Spain, is the Chair for Innovation in Crafts, Design and Art. So together with that, what we did is, first of all, we did a survey. For that, the people coming from sociology, they were, you know, our best friends. And we wanted to understand what the crafters needed, because we end up saying things that we think they need, but we wanted to know, what do you need? What exactly is the area of your business, of your creativity, of your innovation that you would like to improve, but you are just one person, two persons, you're just a small little business, it's a jewel, you cannot do everything. So first of all, what we did was that, with the help of my colleagues in the sociology, and then one of the first things that arose was digitalization. It was complicated for them, but also how to run a business on the online environment. So one of the first things that we did, with the help of the Economic and Business School at the University of Granada, is a workshop for the artisans on running a sustainable workshop in craftsmanship. So that was our first step, like giving voice and responding to the needs. But before, we just learned what the needs were, not what we wanted them to be, but the real needs. And of course, the second one that arose was the need of finding another expert, like a designer maybe, or maybe an expert in circular economy. So what we did is we produced another project, Make It Art, to be a platform for finding each other and making these joint projects feasible. So from our side, I think we have universities all around the world are not aware of the huge impact that we can have in the sector by really transferring all these young people that are really excited. I can see that in the economics and business school, in the sociology, psychology, you know, all over. So I think it will be a good thing that many of the universities close to these centers of, like Florence, for example, could be involved, but to have a real impact in these little businesses. So from our side, we're trying to do this, and through projects and things like that.
Thank you. Anybody would like to add anything to this topic?
I think also collaboration is very important. And when we selected 12 artisans that are a very small number in Florence. There are so many. Also with no teams, just one person, one man artisan. And that's what not very difficult to make them understand that collaboration is very good. For example, our training was before Christmas time. So what we saw, for example, is that one artisan that makes artistic candles put their hair products in a jewelry. So it was just the beginning, because what they saw it that the collaboration is also very important. They didn't know that they could do this experience, because there is very difficult to meet anyone is doing his work, and so he's down to his desk and going on to produce and to while the mindset that we told at the beginning means also this, to open to the community and so on. So, for example, what also Carlotta said about the second action, that we are not involved in it, but we think that it's very, very important to do. For example, tourism in Florence is very close to craftsmanship. We can't avoid that. So different levels, that's true, because many touristic shops in any cities, we are all Europeans, so we can speak about Europe as just one very big country. No, it's the same for us. In every touristic city that all the countries has touristic cities, so the level is very important. For example, personally, I discovered that any artisan has his own story. And what I saw, that there were bad quality for tourism and high quality. For example, Florence has got big excellencies. But there is also a middle step where you can find very good products that are not known, because for them it's very difficult to make them known. So also the community in the territory can do it. And I think that with the programs like this, Crafts Code, we also can look to see something with us, very important for everybody, for any country.
Great, thank you very much.
I would also like to say that cooperation on a higher level, on a meta level, is also very important. As Budapest, we quite often get the critique that Budapest is not very much open in any way, really. So we are not very much open to learn from our partner cities. We are always involved in the project of reinventing the wheel, whereas in projects like Crafts Code, you can actually go and learn good examples, study them, try to find out how you can use it in Budapest, and then we are closed in another way as well. So we are not very much supporting enterprises in the city. We are not we're not supporting startups, all that very much, and that is what Kele János and the organizers of this event are actually doing now. They are trying to find the ways to support these startups. They are now looking into how they can try to organize artisans, try to find out what kind of burden they can take off of their backs automatically, like supporting them in their, well, basically automatic administrative tasks, then providing expertise, like marketing and storytelling, stuff like that. These are jobs on their own. So you have to find the people who can ask the right questions, get the story together. And so to try to provide the kind of support that these people would really need. And yeah, studying the examples of other cities is something that we can learn very much from, and maybe at some stage we can start giving back.
Thank you. Two keywords that we heard at this conference were modernity and tradition, and I would like to ask, especially from you, that you, as one of your area of responsibility, smart cities. Where do you see in the life of Budapest, from a smart city perspective, the role that the craft sector can play in the long term?
Well, there is often this misunderstanding about smart cities that it's all about technology and buzzword compatibility and stuff like that. But then again, we regard the smart city as an example of participation, of maintainability and livability and sustainability and things like that. So it's a very holistic idea. And I think traditions are very important in maintaining the familiarity of a city. But then again, when you are, and I think there is often a misunderstanding about artisanship and craftsmanship, that it's somehow very much rooted in folklorism and traditions. Whereas I think that artisans are really something that are quite modern as well. So if you're not in a constant dialogue with your present environment, I think I belong to the last generation that really actually believed in the power of mass production and how we are, based on technology, we are going to conquer the world and everything like that. And when we grew up, we started turning around and going after things which are more familiar, and not only familiar in the sense that they are rooted in your own traditions, but I think we started to look for objects and tools and ways of creation which are which have much more of a personality or an individuality than mass products. And I think it is not basically looking for your traditions only. It is something of finding something which has a little sense of personality in our very uniformized life. So I think that is the power, and that is the thing that it can really add to a smart city.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Lopez?
In fact, I think it's quite connected, and for us, it was when we presented an European project called Remaker with the 3 Rs that was based on the circular economy and the artificial intelligence. And that might be very far away from craftsmanship, but it's not. Because right now we are linking with the cities because at the end of the day, they are in charge of the waste that we produce every day. So this line of research is on new materials and how we can link through the Smart Cities network with these companies that transform the waste and can produce a very, very interesting material for our artisans. So in this way, we are connecting with the Smart Cities network. In fact, we have our midterm meeting next week, and we have invited the network to, we're working already with the city of Lyon and the artisans in the city of Lyon, because they want to understand how this circularity can happen, including and with the center in the craftsmanship. and how this new material, which is not raw material, which is material coming from scratch, from other industries, can be a very interesting material to work with for some artisans. So we are pretty much right now linking with the Smart Cities Network, and we are finding a very powerful relationship between them and the craft sector.
Thank you. Yes?
I think craft is always a sustainable thing, because even if you use new materials, because if you buy like clothing, you buy a fast fashion shirt or a fast fashion bag, that will have a life cycle of 1-2 years. If you buy a well-crafted shirt or a well-crafted leather bag, that will have a much longer lifespan. That is one part. The other part is the short supply chains. Mass production is always transported very, very long ways. Crafters, since they have a much lower amount they can produce, those are mostly sold locally. And that is, I think, good for the environment, and that is something that we can call sustainable.
I disagree.
Oh, do you?
Let's hear your counter-argument.
I'm sorry, I don't want to take a lot of time, but we have learned that sometimes it's not, maybe the products might be, of course, more sustainable than the industry ones, but the processes are not always so sustainable. And we have learned that one of the keys that are right now on top of the table at the European level is sustainability. So we need to make sure that we understand what that is when related to processes and even marketing in the craft sector, not just the product, but the whole process. So the process, and we are working now with quite high experts on circular economy that are quite excited because they had never ever thought in the craft sector. Amazing, huh? It's like we have put the craft sector in the center, and they were, wow, there's no better thing for a researcher to find an open space where no one has ever entered. So they're very excited, and they're helping us a lot to understand if thinking that the crafts are always sustainable is a false friend. It's something that we have in our imaginary, but it's not always true. And I come from the fine arts, where we have very dangerous waste sometimes, and we need to deal with that. So sometimes it's very interesting to go deep into in the name with the hands of an expert, because we cannot know everything. So this is why I claim for co-working, for collaborating, because you learn a lot, and then you can help a lot as well. So, sorry, I disagree.
That's why we are here, to talk about our opinions. Did you want to add something?
Just, I go back to your question and just say that we can't forget that any tradition began with an innovation, as an innovation. So.
I think that's a very important point. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. Well, we have just a few more minutes before we close this panel discussion, and I would like to give you the opportunity to ask questions from our panel participants. If you have a question, we have the mic here, and just please raise your hand and shoot with your question.
Yes, I would like to point out a word, time, because we have seen in Florence that time for craft people is one of potential barrier, because we sometimes offer them innovative instruments or mentorship programs or opportunity to develop, to learn, and they would like, but the problem is always time. We have small SMEs, very small, sometimes most of them are individual, and they answer to us, but how can I work in my atelier or shop? How can I sell? and then how can I learn or participate to your very interesting opportunities and initiatives. How can we help this sector in using time in the better way? I don't know if there is an answer or not. It was just a point of attention in time.
Who feels ready to? I think, yes.
It's absolutely true. And the reason why it's even more important for artists to create something new, sometimes you have to be like just bored or watch nature or go for a walk to really do something new design, new products, anything like that. So it's a very, very hard thing. I work pretty fast, but still have problem with time because it's never enough. I always tell it's like in a circus where are these acrobats who keep turning plates on poles. And I always say I have 6 poles. I have marketing, I have production, I have design, I have family, I'm a wife, I have a household. And just running around and watching which plate is slowing down and which pole do I have to turn faster. And it's never over. And it's always going round and round. So it's really, really hard. I think one important thing that, and you just mentioned production, and the production process is not always sustainable. A big company pays attention to optimize production and to make it more sustainable. Small companies do not even think about optimization, but there is. I never make one jewelry. If I run out of yellow rings, I make 20 of it, because making one yellow ring is much more time, 20 times. It's much more time than making 20 rings at one point of my design time or production time. So I think that even small companies should start thinking about optimizing their working process, their time, and using little time gaps for good benefit. Like if you are waiting somewhere, dentist's office, railway station, anything, you can do your social media. Like everyone has their smartphones in their hands. And if you have your pictures in your smartphone, you can just post or schedule a couple posts and do it. So basically time management and production optimization is 2 key features.
Thank you. I would like to, I think you wanted to ask something, right? Okay.
Thank you, yeah. In relation to collaboration, I agree that there's loads of opportunity, but I was very interested in what you mentioned about being creative as a creative person in the business modeling and looking at things in different ways. An example I've come across previously was, applying for awards circuits to increase, instead of spending a marketing budget, to apply for awards and get some publicity, etc. Have you any creative ideas or any tips in relation to other ways of looking at the business as a creative person?
What I think about that is look at big companies, look at multinational companies, and take away something from there that you can do in a small scale. Like I don't think lots of crafters has a cash flow template in their computer, and I weekly take care of my cash flow. What did I pay? What will I have to pay next week? How much money do I make? And I pay attention to that. And it's nothing. It's not a big SAP system. It's an Excel, and you can do it on small scale. So that's what I'm meaning about being creative in the business. Take a look at what big ones do and do it as you can do it. It's no problem if it's not perfect, But if we always keep waiting for being perfect, we will never start.
Yeah, I feel that this could be a challenge because craftspeople would like to create something magnificent, something perfect, but you must pay attention to your time, and you, as you said, you have to spin so many plates in the same time that sometimes you just need to find the easy ways, right, to be more productive. It sounds like. Okay, well, actually, our time is up for the panel discussion. Thank you very much for your question. Just one quick last question from all of you. As Mr. Kerper-Fonius pointed out, that craftsmanship is not all about old ladies and old gentlemen, but about not about it. So it's also about modernity, and as you also pointed out, that tradition was sometimes innovation. And I really liked this comment, because when I told my friends that I was coming here to this conference and what the topic was, sometimes they ask me, okay, are they going to be like old gentlemen and all the ladies there who are doing their handcraft at home? So it's very important to have a new generation of craftsmen, and to have excellent craftsmen like De Boer, Mr. De Boer here. How can you say something about how to make craftsmanship sexy for the new generation?
Well, I think I'm the least qualified person of all of us who can pronounce on that. But I would first like to start with rejecting the ageism in your question. I think tradition is not only about old gentlemen and old ladies.
Sorry, if you, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
I was trying to make a joke, sorry. Trying to be ironic or whatever. So I think our relationship to traditions is not, I think it's really an attitude, and it's not all that much connected to age. And I also think we were talking a lot about digitalization and things like that, so involving technology in the sales process, in the marketing process, but we were not talking all that much about involving technology in the creative process, which it can be a part of, really. And I think entering in a dialogue with technology is also a very important thing, because I would like to stress that artisanship is, I think, not all that much linked to tradition, but it is linked to individuality and personality and things like that. And maybe it's a far stretch, but I really like steampunk, where you have all these really funny technologies, where you can really see some kind of a dialogue with technology, and but on a very individual level and on a very explorative level, in the sense that they invent a lot of could-have-beens and things like that, alternative, and it's a very, very individualistic thing, and I think it is linked very much to artisanship, because it is so much of a person being fond of an idea and trying to elaborate it to the maximum detail and try to get something out of it. So I think this whole thing is getting very sexy, because people are getting tired of living in a very uniformized world. And I think there are quite a lot of people who can be very happy because they are gifted, unlike me, in being able to create some things with their hands. And I think for them it is quite sexy, and I can see a lot of young people trying to find their way on this scene, and they're doing marvelous things. So I think it is sexy. What we can help with among us is really to try to help make their way easier, because they are there.
Okay, thank you very much.
I agree, exactly. And I think that perhaps we still need some years or some time to get that, to succeed in doing that. But we will arrive in a time where blockchain will be really very important for any artisan, because his own product will be really very unique and so on. And that's just one of the technologies they can use. For example, 3D printing. We see with our jewelry artisans that the 3D printing is something that permit them to personalize very small objects, sometimes in a precious metal like gold, and to do a prototype before doing it. So that can make easier many things. That can
Take the first steps, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it's tradition or modernity. I think it's and modernity. I come from a city that is full of, you know, ancient traditions, buildings, and probably is going to be one of the biggest hub of artificial intelligence pretty soon. So we are trying to connect that. In fact, in the creative part, we are implementing processes of generative design for artisans to choose among a lot of possibilities that a machine can give you within your parameters. So I think this is a non-real opposition. It's, as long as young people know and are impregnated with their territories, their passion for the tradition, and it's getting higher. I can see that. I work with very young people at the university. I'm getting older, but they're always 20, which is nice, because I keep myself in the idea that I'm 22. So they show a fatigue in this digital perfection, and in fact is coming back to analogic photography, analogic audiovisual, analogic vinyls for music, analogic everything. They want to know about that. They want the imperfection. They need, because they haven't been in a world that things were imperfect. Everything was neat. In fact, we have the only cinema in the whole of Spain that still is still not digital. And all the young people go there like to see this blurry, you know, thing. So I think it's getting at generation level. I think it's not a harm. But if you see it at institutional level or the big programs in the European Union, and if you can read about the new European Bauhaus, it's all hope there. I mean, I can see they have put on top of the table a very interesting program with a lot of funding that all crafters should know about, because it's about that. It's about the smaller manufacturers, the smaller the digitalization, but with a link to the territories and with the link to the traditions where you come from. So I think it's the beauty of that is that it's kind of top of the table, I would say, right now. And there's a lot of young people willing to go into that sector if we can do an effort to make it easy for them and to see that that is a way of living, not a way of surviving, then we will be successful.
Sounds great. And our last remark regarding this question?
You just asked what's sexy about craftsmanship, and I think there's 3 points. One is that you love what you do, and you never do the same thing over and over again because there's something new about it all the time. The other thing is you make your own timetable. You decide when you work. You can work 2 a.m. in the morning and then travel for the next week. So it's up to you. I really like to work. On Sunday evening, I always wait for Monday morning because I love what I do, and I've been doing this for 15 years now. And the third part is if you make a living on craftsmanship, then it's really a very happy life, I think. And what educational institutions and government can do is to help giving tools and skills to realize these 3.
Sounds great. Maybe I'll try something to do with my hands as well. You convinced me. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will close this panel discussion now. So I would like to thank you very much for participating in it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But